Good evening. Township Board of Supervisors General Meeting, April 1st of 2025. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. All of our members are here in attendance. Our staff is present. Unfortunately, Sergeant Cast, or Chief Caston is not with us this evening. He had an award banquet to go to for his wife this evening. The township meetings are recorded for the purpose of preparing the minutes, and the recording is destroyed after the meeting minutes are approved. The meeting will be posted online on the Township YouTube channel. The link can be found on the Board of Supervisors page on the Township website. It is requested that all persons wishing to speak before the board shall state their name, address, and the subject matter upon which they wish to speak for the record. In the interest of facilitating business of the board, all persons addressing the board shall be limited to 3 minutes unless such time is extended by the chair for good cause. Individuals are requested to remain in their seats and to respect when other persons are speaking. The Board of Supervisors will provide a reasonable opportunity for citizens to comment on any agenda items after all agenda items have been addressed, but prior to the adjournment of the public meeting. Okay, administrative actions. We do not have any meeting minutes this evening. And we will move on to our treasurer's report. Jason?
Okay, so highlights for March. We completed the township audit. I did review the document today, and that was submitted to DECD. We made the fourth loan payment of $5 for the 2021 Ford F-550 truck. We received the annual liquid fuels tax disbursement from the state in an amount of $156,258. We installed, it was installed and repair replacement parts for the Foy Park playground equipment. And we received the $60,245 DCD grant disbursement for the new police vehicle. We also received a donation to cover the cost of the tree removal from the Mang Sanctuary that the board authorized a couple of weeks, or probably a month ago now. All right. Total general fund revenue, $482,027, which is $17,000 over budget, up 7.1% from last year. Total expense, $517,525. It's $55,000 under budget, down 31.8% from last year. Our sewer fund revenue total is $264,344, which is $30,483 under budget. That's down 26.1% from last year. And sewer fund expenses at $144,182, which is $10,269 over budget, and it's up 8.9% from last year. The general fund, the net income as of March 31st is negative $35,498, which is outperforming the budgeted $108,000 by $73,142. Revenue-wise, most line items are on or near budget with notable exceptions. Real estate tax, we're 23.7% over at $22,908. Charges for service were $11,586 over. Real estate, to counter that, real estate transfer were $27,000 under budget. Total revenue received is 19.3% so far for the first quarter, through the first quarter of the year. Expenses were under budget by 9.7% or $55,000, primarily due to lower costs in police and public works labor and our property liability vehicle insurance. We are over budget in our planning zoning consultant and our fire ambulance real estate tax, which just basically means we received more than we budgeted. So that's an in and out. So total expenses incurred through the first quarter, we've spent 13.2% of our 2025 budget. General capital fund, as I previously noted, we did receive our DC grant disbursement for the new police vehicle, which has been ordered. Chief has informed me that we're expecting delivery in approximately 3 weeks. Sewer fund revenue, we're 10.3% under budget, or $30,483. This is primarily due to sewer rent charges. We're actually 7.6% or $19,000 under budget. and we're 10,000 under budget for sewer connection tap and fees. Expenses were 7.7 or 10,269 over budget. Notable overages are repairs at the wastewater treatment. Yep. Net income, we're at 120,162, which is 40,752 under budget. We've received 21.3% of our revenue and spent 10.7% of our expenses year to date to budget. Sewer capital fund, we've only earned interest for that fund. Liquid fuels, we have received 100% of the budget, and expenses are for the road salt and the truck loan payment. Net income at the end of the month was $127,323, exceeding budget by $3,200. Open space, we have a negative net income of $2,705. Available funds is $302,399. This does exclude the allocations for the property conservation easement grant. I got to take the county ag out. Expenses have been for EIT commission and the county ag contribution for the 8-step road preservation. ARPA COVID relief, total spent year to date has been $22,000 with $1,064 in interest earned, and that is primarily for the Foy Park playground repairs. Any questions?
Okay, no one has any questions about the budget. We're moving on to payment of bills. From March 1st to March 28th of 2025, the general fund, we're paying out $101,269.50. The sewer fund is $31,381.18. ARPA COVID relief, $18,879.91. And liquid fuels is $26,311.70. Can I get a motion to pay the bills?
Also move.
Supervisor Hexter made the motion. Can I get a second?
Chuck Yiser will second.
Supervisor Yiser made the second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. On to our professional and staff reports. Carol, for their engineers report.
Items on my report deal with matters that are on the agenda tonight, so I'll jump those for now. Go on to informational. The Prestige Builders or Farmview Estates installation of the main sewer line in Little Road is complete. Installation of individual laterals to existing homes on Little Road actually is now complete. Extension of the water main to serve the new developments, both new developments, is underway. They started near the Wawa frontage. And construction of new homes near the northern development entrance is underway. The builder is planning to haul out the excess rocky subsoil starting mid-April. At Melbourne Hill, blasting activity and bulk site grading work continue, and water line installation began this week. The Springmount Road sidewalk project is underway, which most people know if you drove here tonight. That's weird, it's still green. Do I just need to be closer? Okay, closer, thank you. The Springmount Road sidewalk work is underway with 5 full days of road closure planned this week for replacing that culvert. The remaining project work will continue to impact traffic, but with lane closures and flagging. Adding to my report from what the board saw, lawn maintenance and mowing bid. The bid package is complete and has been uploaded to PennBid. It will be advertised in the newspaper this Thursday and will be live on PennBid tomorrow. The other items on my report are either unchanged or deal with individual grading permits, so if there's anything else the board would like me to address, please let me know.
No questions? Okay.
Thank you.
I failed to mention in the beginning of the meeting, we had an executive session at 6:30 this evening to discuss real estate. Solicitors report?
I have nothing to report.
Okay, we'll move on to our township staff reports. Since the chief isn't here, Jason, can you give his report?
Yep. So for March 2025 police activity, they had 378 calls for service, 42 traffic enforcement details, 87 traffic enforcement stops, and 50 traffic citations issued. The police department continues to receive complaints about speeding throughout the areas of the township. To reduce these complaints, officers conducted 42 traffic enforcement details to address the complaints. The police department has received specific complaints about speeding on your road. To address this specific concern, the police department placed a speed data recorder sign on this area. Data obtained shows that the vehicles being operated along this stretch of roadway were compliant with the posted speed limit. Members of the police department attended training hosted by the Montgomery County Sheriff's Department and Pennsylvania Attorney General's Office about senior citizen fraud and best practices to help residents avoid becoming victims. Officer Nark attended standard field sobriety school. The school provides the best practice in DUI enforcement and prosecution of impaired drivers. The police department was commended for truck violation enforcement that's been occurring on Simmons Road. Do you want me to read that? No?
You don't have to.
Okay. The police department is still working in conjunction with our federal law enforcement partners for several ongoing investigations. The Board of Supervisors will be updated with any information that can be provided at the conclusion of these investigations. 4 township residents were cited for open burn violations during a burn ban that was established by the Lower Frederick Fire Marshal. 1 arrest was made for retail theft that occurred at the CVS pharmacy. 1 arrest was made for public drunkenness and disorderly conduct that occurred on Zieglerville Road near Stupi Lane. The police department would like to remind all residents that any information discussed on any social media platform is most likely incorrect. Any concern that a resident has can have the concern addressed with any member of the police department. Any concern that is brought to the attention of the police department will remain confidential. And he does have in there the study from the Yerger Road sign, which there was no red marks at all during that time frame. So when he says it's compliant, it looks like
The sign was placed very close to an intersection, so it really would have been impossible to speed in the 50 feet from the stop sign to get up over the speed. Well, I shouldn't say it's impossible. You'd have to leave a lot of rubber on the road.
Does that conclude that report? Okay, thank you. Fire company, do we have anyone here? Oh, there he is.
Scott Angstedt, the fire chief. For the month of March, we have a total of 28 calls. I counted them up today. We have 56 for the year. That's a fairly busy year already. We've had quite a few of field fires and also burning where people probably shouldn't be too. So it's been happening in other townships too. We did have a burn ban up for a short period of time. We have gotten a little bit of rain since then, but it really is still extremely dry. There's a lot of dead grass that is still about, and the leaves are just between leaves and dead trees laying on the ground. It's going to be one of those years. I kind of have a feeling. So we do have a cornhole tournament coming up on the 26th of April, which is Saturday. And besides that, I think that's all I have.
So just out of curiosity, are you okay? Your arm? Are you?
So we had hosted a training session this weekend, and I was carrying a couple of sections of a hose because the guys training were at another part, and I was helping the instructor set up, and I tripped and fell and broke a bone in my elbow, actually. So doesn't need surgery, thank goodness. It's just going to be through Thursday. I'll be wearing this, and then I just have to get like the range of motion back and get it x-rayed in the future. So unfortunately.
Well, good. I'm glad it's not as serious as it could have been.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay. Ambulance?
Actually, I did get this one late today, so. For the month of March, they had 28 calls for service in Lower Frederick. Their year-to-date total is 75. In their primary coverage area, they had 78 in the month of March, for a year-to-date total of 232. Mutual aid, had 23 service calls with a total of 77.
Okay, you can roll right into Public Works.
All righty. So the month of March, Public Works, they cleaned the Headworks building from bar screen repairs. They repaired the roadside on Greeby Road, greased and cleaned Gerloff Road Bridge, installed no truck signage on Simmons Road, installed the memorial stones at CVS Park, installed the EAC recycling bins at Coble Park and Cuddy Park, removed and installed new wood around Foy Park Playground, clean and regraded ditch on Swamp Creek Road and Kraus Road, and then performed administrative work for mowing bid and future projects list.
Okay, so before we move into the zoning, I saw the zoning report that we received in our Dropbox. I'm not necessarily sure that's the exact kind of format that we should maybe share in general. I don't know if anybody else saw it or had an opinion about that. I mean, it's mentioning property addresses and violations, and I don't think
So-
that should really be.
So the code enforcement stuff doesn't get discussed. That's for your guys.
Okay, so then I wouldn't put it on here.
I had it in your packet. It's not
I know, but it's on the agenda.
as a zoning report. That's
Right.
not code enforcement.
So, no, so are you telling me what you're going to read is different than what was in our Dropbox?
I was just going to read the cover that I
go
created for
ahead.
the report.
Okay,
The backup,
okay, thank you.
yeah.
Got it.
Oh, no,
We're
we're there.
Okay.
I just, so one of the things that I think we talked about was bringing kind of a zoning report back. So, and I've talked to Vinny. So whatever, if there's other information you guys would like, certainly we can kind of adjust. So.
Okay, well, this is a good start.
All right, so for the month of March, there was 14 building permits received, 15 zoning permits received for a total of 29. There was 12 building permits approved with 11 zoning permits approved for a total of 23. And there was one building permit completed, two zoning permits completed. We did receive one zoning hearing board application, which has been scheduled for April 14th. We continue the assess code enforcement investigate property concerns, violations, assist with applications, updated permit applications to match permits issued by Barry Izett, i.e. plumbing, electrical, mechanical, et cetera, are now under one building permit application instead of individual applications. Hopefully this will make it easier for our residents. The zoning application was also updated. Worked with the county to move addressing of parcels under admin instead of third party. We had been farming that out to our third party. It's not hard for us to do, so, and I've done it at my other stops, so. Move submission of building zoning permits to the Montgomery County Board of Assessments from third party to admin. So that'll be something we'll be handling in-house. And we issued 15 UNOs from January to the end of March, and we've issued 12 burn permits in the month of March.
Okay.
Question for Jason.
Sure, go ahead.
Since we're on township staff reports, Bob Preston, when are we going to hear from him on his study? And I know you may not have an answer tonight, but if we could have an answer by our next meeting, I'd like that.
I know the survey was done, and it's in whatever state from that survey.
So we're looking at the Zieglerville Road? Okay, thank you. I apologize, I want to swing back to the engineer's report and the RFP for the mowing. Okay, so the advertising is going out. From what I understand, it's going to get advertised on Thursday, it'll get advertised on Monday. And there's a pre-bid meeting on Tuesday. And as much as I appreciate you wanting to move this along expeditiously, I'm a little concerned about the period of time that people are going to have to actually participate in this process. When are the bids supposed to be opened? No. Okay. And when is the close date for receipt of, it's the same? Okay, so realistically, we could have another pre-bid meeting if more bids came in, correct?
So the pre-bid meeting needs to be far enough in advance of the bid opening that changes can be made. So we try to make it at least 10 days before the bid opening.
So I understand that. Okay.
So what's going to happen is if NBID goes live with that tomorrow, emails will go out to all the contractors that might be interested in this.
Okay,
So don't disagree with you. They'll only have about a week.
right.
notice. But
Okay.
I don't think we're really going to have time to do a second pre-bid.
No, no, okay. No, that's fine. We'll see how it all shakes out then. Okay, thanks. Okay, Township Board and Commission reports, the EAC, Environmental Advisory Council. Are you going to give that, Gary? You're on Zoom?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. We met on March 10th. We completed our discussion of Lower Frederick's open burning ordinance after reviewing ordinances from surrounding municipalities and health information from PADEP and US EPA. We voted to recommend revisions to the ordinance. Our proposal was sent to Jason this morning. One of our members attended the PV Woods quarterly meeting. PV Woods is an arboretum operated by the Perkiomen Valley School District. It is comprised of 2 locations totaling 76 acres and is a learning tool for students and the community that promotes environmental stewardship and conservation. The district has expressed interest in having a table about the arboretum at the Park Board Spring Fest. The Green Energy Committee continued its discussion of the Uniform Construction Code updates and the benefits of constructing a new construction with EV charger ready, being EV charger ready. The Outdoor Lighting Committee discussed the International Dark Sky Association's principles for responsible outdoor lighting. The Stormwater Committee is working with the Perkiomen Watershed Conservancy and hopes to set up an outreach event about stormwater management and riparian buffers, hopefully in the not too distant future. The committee also had an informational meeting with Crystal Gilchrist, where she gave a presentation on the Perkiomen project mapping and flood mitigation study. And stormwater plans for some of the pending developments in the township were also reviewed. The Birdtown Committee reported that Lower Frederick Township has achieved Birdtown's gold certification level based on activities conducted in the last year. For this month's Did You Know, we're providing a link to a webpage advocating for homeowners to implement low-mow spring. The intent is for homeowners to reduce the frequency of lawn mowing during the spring. While not as beneficial as converting lawns to native gardens, studies have shown that reduced mowing benefits bees, butterflies, grasshoppers, and many other insects. It also reduces the noise, energy consumption, and pollution resulting from mowing. The webpage notes that in some municipalities, homeowners can run afoul of local weed ordinances. We encourage the board to consider the revisions to Lower Frederick's weed ordinance proposed by the EAC a few months ago. And that's all we have.
Okay, thank you, Gary. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, Open Space Committee?
Good evening. This is Andrew Lang reporting for the Open Space Committee. We met on March 12th. At this meeting, we reviewed our year financials to date, including confirmation on the final payment for the preservation of the Leiden property under the Montgomery County Farmland Preservation Act that the committee had contributed funds to. We also discussed exploring some volunteer opportunities for the members of the committee to do work on certain properties in the township that are under open space protection, work on different aspects of upkeep as well, and sort of make this a recurring thing throughout the year, and hopefully open this up to other interested community members, both as an opportunity to engage more with these properties and to provide more outreach and information about the work of the committee. So that's something that we want to try to do this coming spring now that the weather's nice, and hopefully going forward. And then we also talked about putting together additional outreach materials that can be circulated at different township events and township activities, such as festival days and perhaps during the elections too, just having a table presence there. So we're going to put together draft materials and review them at next month's meeting as something that can be proposed as a handout going forward. So those are the main topics of discussion during the public session portion of the meeting. We then went into executive session to review some specific characteristics of properties that we've been working with over the last several months. So that's what I've got for the report right now. I can look to answer any questions that anyone has.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Planning Commission.
The Planning Commission met on March the 20th. The primary focus of the meeting, primary agenda item for the meeting was the Artisan development, which is a 41 home proposed subdivision and land development out at Centennial and Smith Road on the southern end of the township. The applicant's representative that night was Jacqueline Erickson, and the Planning Commission went through a review of the township's engineer review letter dated, I think, March the 8th. So we used that as the basis for our conversations with the developer's representative. And basically, we felt inclined not to interact with some of the subjects that I think they wanted to pursue a little bit more, one being the readjustment of the township boundaries. We felt that was outside the purview of the Planning Commission, so we passed that on to you folks. And we spent a little time talking about the intersection. I think it's paramount that that intersection be improved, and the Planning Commission, felt very strongly to support the issue of it. Apparently, the proposed resolution of the deficiency in the intersections is, much improved over the existing condition. Still not an ideal situation, but the Planning Commission felt that they would be willing to support that proposal to improve the intersection as they have planned to do. We also discussed some of the issues pertaining to stormwater and sewering. We got an informational on the sewering, and we talked about sidewalks and connections, and we produced a position of a motion which supported the idea of a waiver of the sidewalking between the entry point of the development at along Centennial, between Centennial and Smith. And we felt that we would support that waiver so long as a public trail was a trail was publicly accessible on the site that would be held in lieu of that sidewalking that they didn't want to place along the side of the road for for their road improvements. So that was essentially the issues dealt with. We also had an informational from Jason about the connection resolution by the county on the area between Delphi and Schwanksville Borough. I think the township had received a notice or a memo from the county, and he basically gave us their position on that. And it's interesting and good for the township in that they're going to go ahead with the condemnation process to secure that old right-of-way, so eventually that can become a pedestrian connection that we so value for our township as well as for the county's purposes eventually, if they're planning to do their Sunrise Trail. And the only other thing I'll mention tonight is we were in anticipation of getting a priority listing generated by the county for potential projects that we would like to see in the future for connections, sidewalks, and pathways, primarily between the village areas. Unfortunately, the county hasn't finished up their documentation and presentation work, so we weren't able to discuss that, but we hope to do that at our next meeting. So that was the extent of our Planning Commission meeting, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions?
I just wanted to point out, part of what I've been doing this year is going through some old papers and getting rid of things, but also trying to find homes for these papers that people might be interested in. And one of the things that I came across was a 2004 letter from Ken Hughes, who's director of the Planning Commission, writing, I believe, on behalf of expressing the sentiment of the commissioners at the time, talking about the county's commitment to connecting via the Sunrise Trail, right? So that's 21 years ago. It actually was written to Phil Smith, and it's commending him for his efforts also in Stone Hill. So, you know, I don't think the Planning Commission members really, and even Open Space, are aware of how long this has been in the process and the commitment the county has made. I have sent you that letter. I would appreciate it if you could pass that letter along to those two commissions so they have that in their archives, or however you want to think about it. So, you know, because a lot of times I sit there at the meetings and I get the impression, well, this is something new, or, you know, we're just pushing it now. Well, no, you know, it's been 21 years at least.
Yeah, I've often been accused of being a man of letters, so there's proof of it. So yeah, I would appreciate it if Jason would circulate that to the Planning Commission, and I know the Open Space Committee would be happy to see that as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Phil. Park and Rec Board?
Hello, everybody. Okay, so we did not have our meeting yet this month. We're going to be meeting next Monday. That does happen sometimes. We did get our Coble Park rehab survey out, which is good news, and we've already had 24 respondents, and it just went out this week, so that's good. We're going to be just talking about how we're going to plan to get it out to even more people. I have a couple little handouts tonight if you would like one. It's all over Facebook, so just make sure you share it with people and have them get out there and sign up to, not sign up, but complete the survey. We also, our business donation letters have gone out. At the meeting on Monday, we'll be talking about some in-person follow-up from the Parks and Rec Board. So I'm guessing if any of you wanted to do any follow-up with some of the local businesses, just let us know. We had our second book club on March 22nd at Engage Art Studio. It was a good turnout. We actually had a new face, which was nice. And our next one will be May 3rd, also at Engage, and we're going to be reading Be Ready When the Luck Happens by Ina Garten. So it's a little bit different than what we normally do. Easter egg hunt is going to be Saturday, April 19th at 10 a.m. over at Coble Park. We're going to be doing egg stuffing on the 14th still, but we have moved that up to 4:30 so we can be done in time for the zoning hearing board meeting that night, which is also going to be in here. And then finally, we have two upcoming Perkiomen Pacer walks. One is going to be at 8 a.m. on April 27th, and it's going to be at Green Lane. It's going to be a free as a bird trail walk in conjunction with Birdtown. And then our May one is going to be at 10 a.m. on May 31st at Pennypacker Mills, and it's going to be a Revolutionary War walk. So that should be pretty interesting with the historical piece. And then last thing, I did have one more, Perkiomen Watershed Conservancy. The stream cleanup is on April 12th. There are still some open spots. I just checked it before we came. I think Gerloff Road Bridge still has 2 open spots. So even if it's not in our neighborhood, go ahead, take a look at the site and sign up.
Terrific, thank you, Katie.
Yep.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, just about where you're going to advertise the survey. Will we have some slips like here in our lobby so people show up, they can see it? That's a good place to have them.
Yeah, we can definitely get them there.
And I'm just curious, how do people find out about your book group? I mean, would people also be able to find out about the survey in the same way, or is it just word of mouth?
We have a distribution list, which is basically email for the people that have come in the past. A
Okay.
lot of the stuff is up on our the Lower Frederick Facebook page. We have a book club Facebook page. We're very dependent right now on social media. We are putting some signs for the survey up in some of the local areas like Snoozies, Country Chef, the library, but a lot of it's going to be word of mouth and social media. And if you have any suggestions on other places to put our signs up, let us know.
Yeah, I would also do the Wawa and the CVS.
Okay, perfect.
And you might want to put some, I don't know if Schwenksville Borough would allow
That's a
you to
good
put some
idea.
there, because like for the yoga class, that kind of thing. And just the main social media sites. I know like there's the Schwenksville social media, like Arcadia Station has one.
Yeah,
Then the word will get out.
perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Yep. All right, we're moving on to the business portion of our meeting this evening. First item on our list, at the request of the attorney for the developer, is we're tabling the Arcadia Station subdivision project closeout and maintenance period. They have some logistics to work out. So we'll move on to our second item, which is as a resolution, Melbourne Hill subdivision road names. Jason, I guess you can speak to this a little bit.
Okay, this was brought up by the board recently. As per Township Code Section 145-21.g, requirements for new and existing streets, all new streets and extensions and widenings of existing streets shall be assigned street names and numbers by the developer to correspond with existing house numbering and street name systems subject to approval of the township. There is a loop road and circle within the subdivision. Currently, the planned road names are Brantwood Drive and Gresham Way. I did find some previous recommended road names. I think this was for this Farmview subdivision, since their Steiner was on there, which I know is what ended up being approved for the Farmview. That would be the Alameda and I guess the Scioto. And then other names that were on Underkoffler, Tyson, Schlosser, Gable. And then I was able to find a list from the 1882 Polk's Gazetteer that had several business owner names, several business owners and their names. So I don't know where you guys want to kind of start with this.
I know what my preference is, and we mentioned one earlier. I like Gable. I prefer Gable, and I kind of lean towards Hopkins. That was one that was added on for Molly Hopkins.
Yes, so the background on the gable is an old atlas that we found. I think it was 1871. The land that they're building on was owned by a Gable family, and then you can give the rest for the Hopkins.
Actually, maybe Terry Sachs could speak to that. That's where I got my information from and about Molly Hopkins.
Across from the park on 29 up by Little's, Molly Hopkins lived there way back and had a big hedge out front. But she was alive when way back in the 50s and the 60s when I was still, because I was raised here in town.
Okay. So that's where I sit with them. I don't know how anyone else wants to weigh in.
I think, given the fact that, I don't know, how do I say this? A lot of our names are named after, a lot of our streets are named after men. And since Molly Hopkins is a woman, why don't we have it Molly Hopkins and not just Hopkins? So we can acknowledge her.
It's a bit much for a road name, but I get it. I could go with Molly Hopkins.
So does she prefer Ruth Hopkins or Molly Hopkins or Ruth Molly Hopkins? Did it have to be all three?
Phil had his hand raised.
Phil?
Like to just comment? I think it would be great to name it after Ruth Molly Hopkins. As Terry pointed out, she was a lover of Lower Frederick Township. She wrote a history of Lower Frederick Township. I still have a copy of it she gave me. And she also was very supportive of the Zieglerville Village, so I think that would be very appropriate to name it after her.
Okay.
Yeah, wonderful woman.
Chuck? You wanna weigh in?
I'm
You're open?
okay with it. I'm just don't know about having a street name with more than one word, that's all. But I understand the sentiment.
It's not unusual.
Is it? All right. Okay.
Yeah. Just for the record, Mr. Sachs is the one who suggested Hopkins, and Terry Bird is the one who spearheaded the names that we were going to be picking for this, and he was the one who came up with Gable as well. So those are the two I'm leaning towards. Yeah.
So there is a drive and a way, so maybe it would make sense to say Gable Drive and Ruth Molly Hopkins Way. Does that flow better?
Are we really going to use Ruth the whole thing?
You tell me. I thought that's what. She went by all three names, from my understanding. Yeah.
Ruth Molly?
That's one word? Hyphenated, 2 words? What is that? Do we know?
A lot of people call her Molly Hopkins. It was really,
Right. I think the acknowledgement is important, but we don't need to make it that complicated.
Yeah, I think Molly Hopkins, people will know who it is, and that's the important thing.
You have one more hand raised?
So are we going on, we're trying to figure out the road and way, but do you have a comment? Yeah.
And there are 2 roads that we're naming, so it's not just one or the other.
How is Ruth Molly Hopkins's book, what's the name on her book? How did she put her author name on her book that she wrote?
Coming out of left field, I don't know what you're speaking in reference to.
Chuck just said that, somebody
Oh,
just
okay, I
said,
apologize.
so maybe just looking at how her name is addressed there, because then people that move in, Ruth Molly Hopkins, who the heck is she? And they're going to look her up, and if that's how her book was authored in that name, they'll find that and they'll be able to get more history about Lower Frederick Township.
Good point, Diane, thank you. Does anybody have any questions about this? Anybody else want to comment?
The resolution is. Yeah, I forgot to, I apologize. I forgot to put the recommended motion.
No, that's okay.
So have you guys, I guess, settled on a name or names then? Or do you want to mull it over for a bit?
Last names, yes.
Yeah, I think the book suggestion's a good idea, but people tend to put their full legal names on things like that, and we're looking for what she went by with her buds. So that makes it tougher.
Yeah, I'm okay with Molly Hopkins. Dan, did you have a comment you wanted to make?
just real quick, she listed her name. Dan Orff, Kratz Road. I did a quick check and she listed her name. It comes up in Google as Ruth space Molly Hopkins. It said she was 105 when she passed away in Zieglerville, so for what it's worth.
I understand the desire to want to, the brevity of the names. I understand that. But if we're going to go so far as to pick road names that are significant because they were about someone who lived in the township, I think it might be more poignant to give her whole name. It may seem long, I mean, we can argue over Ruth Molly Hopkins, or we can just call it Molly Hopkins. Either one is sufficient for me.
I would call it either Ruth Molly or Granny Hopkins.
Or Granny. I don't know how people would feel about the road being called Granny Hopkins, but, you know, hey, to each his own. And that too, I mean, I think we're spending a little too much time on the name. Yeah, we're gonna have to move this one on. Do you guys
so-
want to sit on this for a little bit?
No,
or-
let me ask Peter a question. If we go ahead and vote tonight to go with Gable Drive and Molly Hopkins Way, whichever way we're going to do it, and we find out in 3 or 4 days that she preferred a different name, we can always change it, right? Or not?
Yes, we can always change it, but eventually the change becomes harder. Because
Well, how
eventually, we're going to
eventually?
be assigning road names and addresses to the different parcels, and they're being pulling permits. People are going to have, using, advertising this as an address. So, right now is a good time because the developer is preparing revised final plans due to the lot line issue. So the developer was already doing that, so it's going to be no big deal for the developer to put the new name on the plans. So you have time if you want to change it. I would say, once we get those revised final plans in, we probably need to lock it down. Because those are going to be recorded plans, and that's what we're going to be going to, the county as far as, parcels and that sort of thing.
So what you're saying is we have time.
I think you have time now, but not all the time in the world, let's put it that way.
Okay. Would it be safe enough to say that we could table this?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, so why don't we do that? We can all chew on it for a little bit, and we can meet back again later. Maybe you'll change your mind. Who knows?
Well, my mind is, I was ready to make a motion for Ruth Molly Hopkins Way and Gable Drive and move on.
Oh, well, that's not the impression I got, but okay, that's what we can do. That's what we can do. Would someone like to make the motion?
I just did. I'm good. I make the motion that we provide the road names for the Melbourne Hill development as follows: Gable Drive and Ruth Molly Hopkins Way.
And I will second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank God. All right.
Do I need to get?
I noticed that our first agenda item with Arcadia Station subdivision, that got tabled. I apologize. One of our last items on our agenda was for Artisan Land Company, Landis Tract Development, and their sewer planning. If no one minds, we could move them up because they've joined us this evening. Yes.
Just for a point for the record, that was Resolution 2025-R10 that you just voted on as far as the Melbourne Hill road names.
Thank you, Peter. Whenever you're ready, go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you for having Artisan in front of you this evening. We were in front of your Planning Commission on March 20th and received very productive feedback. We are looking forward to our discussion this evening. I know that your township engineer has prepared a review summary of the planning module for Lot 1 to be incorporated into the community and to have public sewer via force main down into Schwenksville Borough Authority. So I don't know if we wanted to start with the review letter or if there were general questions or the context of where we wanted to begin.
Sorry, could you just introduce yourself for the record?
Absolutely. I'm so sorry. I'm Jackie Erickson with Artisan Land Company, And I have two other artisan representatives with me tonight. Thank you.
Jackie, I don't think we need to go through everything. If the board has questions for you, or if Carol does, I think that's great, but otherwise, yeah, I don't think we need to spend a lot of time reviewing everything.
So Carol, did you have any questions? Did you want to comment on anything?
I actually prepared for you a full paper copy with the tags of the locations that need to have signatures and/or seals. And I was in agreement with what you sent as far as what needed signature. There's one additional document, which is the third page of the comment sheet for the public notice, to just acknowledge that there were no comments, and then the township signature on that. So I have it both here in the full packet and then color-coded with two individuals to be signed by both Lower Frederick, and then for us to keep an original, and then if you wanted to have an original on file. Yes, and when you asked for the electronic copy, so I was just at Perkiomen Township earlier this evening, and they passed their resolution. The borough had already passed theirs, so now it'll be compiling the three of them together to create one complete planning module. So this is just Lower Frederick's portion, so that it's a complete planning module. So yes, I will provide that as well.
I personally don't have any questions. Relying on our engineer, from what I understand, she didn't have a whole lot of time, and I just got this today, but does anybody else have any questions or comments on this?
Just, to clarify for the public, so we have one lot in Lower Frederick, and it is going to be sewered, and that will require an amendment to our 537 plan. So this is all why this is coming up tonight, as part of it, too.
Jason, what's the resolution number, please?
2025R-11.
11?
So I just wanted to clarify, and also for the public, what you're asking for today is only that we approve the sewage module, planning module for the one lot in Lower Frederick, and any other issues or concerns related to this development will be addressed at another time.
Okay.
Is that correct? That's all you're asking for tonight, is that we approve the sewage planning module?
It's the only item in front of you for action.
Okay.
This evening. And, but considering that it's part of the decision as to whether Lot 1 is part of this, internal community, or it sits alone by itself on Smith Road, I guess, is kind of the bigger question to where we are with the plans and revisions to the plans, and what that was part of the discussion with the Planning Commission on the 20th, was Lot 1 and the intersection improvements, and kind of what the project is proposing. And now we have the preliminary plan approval from the borough and from Perkiomen Township. And so part of this planning module was to provide not only the easement for the borough authority, but also for a conduit to then come out to then the far northern end of the township right away, which would provide those 3 homeowners on Centennial Street the opportunity to, if they ever need to or choose to tie in, and they'll work that out with the township, that the conduit is there so the road doesn't have to get ripped up and those future costs. So that's part of this planning module. And so I am hoping that if we pass this resolution, that there will be some brief discussion about Lower Frederick's position or thoughts to authorize your solicitor to continue the discussions with Perkiomen Township and with our council to come to a determination on the boundary line adjustment that had been talked about. It's an integral piece to it, and just as the intersection improvement that's being offered at the intersection of Centennial and Smith Road. So I don't want to stand here and just say, that it's just, I understand this is the only thing for action, but I am hoping that we will get some direction this evening so that we can then continue and all work towards what I think we're hoping or thinking is to next month be in front of you as an action item to revise the boundary line change, and that it would give you, your solicitor and Perkiomen Township solicitors and our council the opportunity to then work through an agreement, and that agreement then would have the opportunity to then call in the conditions that we have been talking about and then mark them, basically lock them in. So it would lock in the intersection improvements. It would provide the landscaping that we had gone through with the Planning Commission and the trees that are being offered and kind of the points that we need clarity on in order to then be able to revise the plans and work on the hard engineering.
So, sorry, let me just back up. So we're here tonight, the item on the agenda is to approve the sewage facilities planning module, and that will all, for the home in Lower Frederick, and that will also include the conduit? Is that going to be part of this
Yes, it is.
resolution?
Yes, because, yes, it's part of the planning.
As part of the sewage facility, okay. But then after we address that, you're asking to have a brief discussion about other, okay, so just like,
Yes.
so just so everybody's clear,
Yes.
we're only here as an action item for the sewage facilities planning module.
Yes.
And what you're talking about are other issues.
Yes.
Okay.
So, as I understand it, this is the only thing that's on our agenda this evening. There was nothing else on the agenda to discuss anything else, unless Peter has something he wants to add to that. This is the only thing that
Why
we're
don't
here
we
for.
do, I can address what was raised, but why don't we act on what's in front of you, and then I'll
First.
address the comments.
Okay. So, the motion is to adopt Resolution 2025 R11, adopting Landis Tract subdivision sewage facilities planning module as a revision to the township's official sewage planning facilities. Can I get a motion?
Chuck Yeisel will make that motion.
Supervisor Yiser makes the motion. I will make the second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 And Jackie, I think the tentative plan is we have a meeting the fourth Tuesday of the month. We were going to address the boundary line issue at that meeting. And we're aiming to have a discussion and a formal vote at that point in time.
Wonderful. And I believe that's April 29th is how it falls.
22nd.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's a fifth Wednesday. That's the fifth Tuesday. This is the fourth. So it's the 22nd. So yeah, you might want to, if we can have you here, obviously.
Absolutely.
But I think right now, that's what the board and staff are aiming for, and we'll get that out of the way. And then, obviously, we need to have final, another set of plans, revised plans from you for Carol to review, the planning commission to review, and then, we will, once that's all done, we'll act on those also, hopefully before the extension runs
I
out.
appreciate the clarity and thank you for the confirmation. And if you need something from Artisan, you will reach out to
Obviously,
council for
yes.
something, and we will provide it as
Yes.
quickly as we can.
Perfect.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much for that clarity. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Next on our business agenda is the resolution for reinstatement of Lower Frederick Township Police Pension Plan.
Okay. We received notice by PSATs that actually handles our police pension plan, that IRS regulations require sponsors of defined benefit pension plans to periodically restate their plan documents to incorporate changes in pension legislation. These documents must be restated and adopted by April 30th of 2025. The previous mandatory plan restatement was done by us in 2020. Unfortunately, I thought I had sent this to Peter before our March 4th meeting to review, and in fact did not. So he didn't end up getting this till last week. He is still currently reviewing this document, and PSATs would like to have this our copy to their office by April 15th, which would be a week prior to our work session.
So I think in talking to Jason about this, what we are looking for is an approval pending the township solicitor's review. What we are doing is if you've looked at this form, it's like a 20-page basically checklist where we check off how what constitutes our plan. We did one of these, I believe, 5 years ago that I have a copy of. So I'm comparing this one to the old one, make sure there's no differences because our plan hasn't changed. I'm comparing this one with our plan, which is the ordinance in our code, to make sure that this company that completed this checklist for us did it correctly. There was already a couple of things that I looked at. I was like, I don't think that matches, but I want to dig into it. And then thirdly, we're going to compare this checklist against the PBA, the collective bargaining agreement with our police union, because that has some terms in it regarding the pension, and we obviously want to make sure that they match. I hope to have this done by the end of this week, and so long as there's no major issues, we can then get it off to PSATs and take care of this. I believe 5 years ago when this happened, I'm not sure, I think it may have been rubber stamped, but we're just trying to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Thank you for that clarification. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, the motion is to adopt Resolution 2025 R12, adopting the reinstatement adoption agreement. The motion is to adopt Resolution 2025 R12, adopting the restatement adoption agreement of the Lower Frederick Township Police Pension, subject to the solicitor's review, and further authorize the township manager to sign all of the necessary paperwork. Can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Supervisor Hexter makes the motion. Can I get a second? I'll second it. Supervisor Sachs makes the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next on our business agenda is the 2025 Oil and Chip Project, authorization for pavement repairs on roads scheduled for paving.
Pavement repairs are necessary in advance of the chip seal work, and that chip seal work is planned in May. So asphalt materials can be purchased under a CoStar's contract.
I don't think. I think we can, but I don't know if they can. You can't hear, yeah. I
Can
don't
the
think your
people,
mic is
can the
working.
people on Zoom hear?
No.
Any better? Woo, there we go. Thank you, Jason. I'll start over then. Pavement repairs are necessary in advance of the chip seal work, which is planned in May of this year. So asphalt materials can be purchased under a CoStarz contract. We're recommending the board authorize expenditure of up to $8,500 in asphalt for base repairs to those roads that are scheduled to be chip sealed this year. The repair work would be done by Sachs and Sons under the equipment bid. We also request the board authorize expenditure of up to $40,000 for labor and equipment to complete those repairs.
Okay, does anyone have any questions, any comments? No? Okay, the motion is to authorize road repairs as part of the 2025 oil and chip project under the 2025 equipment bid not to exceed $40,000, approval of up to $8,500 in asphalt, and further authorize the township manager to sign any paperwork necessary to complete the project. Can I get a motion?
I will recuse myself.
Supervisor Sachs recuses himself. The motion.
Also move.
Supervisor Hexter makes the motion. Second.
Chuck Yiser will second.
Supervisor Yiser makes the second. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next up is the 2025 oil and chip project, authorization to purchase material for the oil and chip project.
So I'll take that one again. The board previously awarded the bid for labor and equipment to seal select township roads. And tonight we're requesting the board authorize purchase of the required stone, which comes from Martin's Quarry. That's under a CoStarz contract. And that would be in an amount not to exceed $30,000. And the required CRS 2P emulsion, also under a CoStarz contract, and that would be at a cost not to exceed $114,000. To refresh your memory, the roads to be sealed are Gerloff Road, Kraus Road, a portion of Mine Hill Road, Swamp Creek Road, Woodside Avenue, and Yerger Avenue.
You had said not to exceed 114. Our sheet says 144. Just wanted to make sure that we get it right.
That's the 30 plus the 114.
Yeah, I combined
Okay.
the amounts, Chuck.
All right, I'm sorry. All right, I spaced out. Got it.
Thank you for paying close attention. And as a reminder, the labor and equipment bid that was previously awarded was for $34,650.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Okay, the motion is to authorize purchase of stone and emulsion at a cost not to exceed $144,000 for the 2025 oil and chip seal project, and further authorize the township manager to sign any paperwork necessary to complete the project. Can I get a motion? I will make that motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Terry Byrd makes the second. Supervisor Byrd makes the second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, next on our agenda is zoning hearing board application for RML Construction. Who would like to speak to that?
I can.
Jason?
Yep.
I don't see anyone here
No.
representing them.
This application was received February 28th, 2025. It is scheduled for April 14th, 2025. RML Construction requests the following relief from the Lower Frederick Township zoning ordinance to facilitate construction of a single-family dwelling upon real property commonly referred to as 208 Schwank Road, and designated as Montgomery County Parcel 38-00-02363-00-3. This is within the township's R1 residential district and steep slope conservation district. So they are asking a variance to allow construction on a lot less than 2 acres, to allow the proposed development within a minimum developable lot area and minimum lot size of less than 2 acres, to allow front yards, a variance as far as allowing a front yard setback of 60 feet, to allow 5.5% building coverage, to allow an individual on-lot well on a lot less than 1 acre, to allow an individual on-lot sewer system on a lot of less than 1 acre, and to allow development of the subject property without application of steep slope conservation district regulations.
So does anyone have any questions or comments or anything of that nature?
This question is for Carol. So can you explain to us the variance they're requesting for steep slope conservation district regulations?
It'd be my
And
pleasure. There's
thank
a portion of the property that is mapped, when they do the survey topography, it's mapped as steep slope. And it's in the general vicinity of their proposed on-lot septic system. It's my strong suspicion that that is the result of some fill material that was placed there many years ago, that it's a man-made condition. So if the zoning hearing board were to grant them a variance from that requirement, that would minimize their need to come before this group for a conditional use hearing just for that small area, which appears to be a man-made fill slope.
Okay, so I guess now, can anyone hear me? Okay, so I guess now for the harder question, I don't know how to word this, but I'll just give it a try. Our ordinance says on-lot septic and well on 2 acres. And this piece of property is less than 1 acre. And there are other properties in this township that are in that situation that are having problems. So you know where I'm going with this. I mean, how problematic is it for this to occur on a piece of property that is less than 1 acre?
So I'm looking for my property information quickly so I can answer you in an accurate way. Yeah, so the existing property is, you're correct, it's under 1 acre, it's 0.8 of an acre. They did obtain a permit for an on-lot septic system from the Montgomery County Health Department. And they are within the area that was recently included in the Act 537 special study plan revision for the Goshen-Hopkins Creek watershed. So based on that plan, there will someday be public sewer service in that direction that might be able to relieve a problem should it develop. But yeah, it is going to be a concern that there's not an alternate on-lot system location. So there's only one on-lot system location identified by the applicant. I don't disagree with your concern.
So I'm sure, like many of you, how many years have you been coming to these meetings and listening to people stranded because they don't have a system that works, or the township gave them a building permit for a lot that was way too small. We know the property next to it has its own on-site sewage treatment plant, essentially is what it is, that gets serviced once a month by a contractor. We know the property up the road, the person died waiting for sewer, right? We know the soils in that area are not good. We have a property, even though this used to be R2 and then was zoned R1, wouldn't even have qualified as an R2 parcel. So no, no, and no. I think the board should take a position opposing this. And if we need to send Peter there, that's what we do.
I'd like to ask another question about the request for a variance for the building coverage. So does that mean they want, how much, do you know how much coverage they want to do?
Yes, my recollection is by the zoning code, they're only allowed 5% building coverage in the R1 district. They're proposing 5.5, and as you can imagine, with a smaller lot, the ratios are different.
Thank you.
Do we know, I mean, I kind of saw the plans, I didn't look at them super hard. Do we know what the distance is between the well and the septic?
So they do meet the minimum requirements. There's a minimum 100-foot requirement
Okay,
from the well to the septic, and they do meet that.
okay, thank you. Supervisor Byrd, do you have anything to say? Any comments? Questions?
Question, so you mentioned that they have received permission from the county for an on-site system? Okay.
Yes, they have.
Like recently, that wasn't an old,
Correct.
yeah, I mean, I agree with Chuck's comments, is that directly in that area, there is an issue, and it is a smaller lot, and until there's another option for them, and I'm not sure what the technology advances are in the past however many years, but is this going to be our next new resident with another problem? It's concerning.
At this point, I'm going to concur with Supervisor Yeiser's comments, concerns. And I think that it's no. And we should send Peter to the zoning hearing board.
So that would be then to state the board does not support the application, or would that be the last option? Direct Peter to represent the board to oppose the application.
Of the options, I believe that is the one, Peter?
Say that again, please.
So we have, the board can choose to do any one of the following. Usually
Right.
we have those choices. Then the last one is direct Peter to represent the board at the hearing to support or oppose the application.
Correct.
We have 3 oppositions at this point.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So, yeah, if you want to, I would ask that you take a vote, since you're sending me to oppose this. And either myself or, I'm not sure, I might have a conflict, so someone else from my office will be there.
That would be on April 14th.
Yes. I have no comment.
And one clarification, so the application we received for zoning hearing, that was their first application to the township for this? So, okay.
Okay, any other questions, any other comments? Okay. Yep. So the motion before us is that the board is going to direct Peter to represent the board at the April 14th zoning hearing board hearing for, where are we here?
ZHB 2025-01.
Thank you. To oppose the application. Can I get a motion?
Chuck Yeiser will make that motion.
Supervisor Yeiser makes the motion, and the second?
I will second.
Supervisor Hexter makes the second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Ernie, did you have a comment?
Ernie Schmidt, 209 Silverbrook Drive. My only question is, when does, should this have been a zoning hearing board, or rather should it have been a conditional hearing application to the Board of Supervisors because of all the issues? I'm just wondering if the direction was given properly to the applicant that this is a zoning issue. There's too many things on here, and when you go from 2 acres down to less than 2 acres, to me, it's a matter of the zoning of the Board of Supervisors and the planning commission as a conditional use application. I just wondered if the direction was okay, but I think you've answered my question by having the solicitor there. Okay, I'm satisfied.
Okay, thank you, Ernie. Okay, next on our agenda, resolution accepting donation for the Public Works Facility land purchase and establishing conditions for its use.
The board asked me to create a resolution memorializing the $100,000 donation received at the end of January for purchase of land for a public works facility. And this is the resolution in front of you. Peter has reviewed and is good with the content.
Okay, do we have any questions or comments?
Other than to say thank you again. No.
Okay. Okay, my only comment is that the donor is wishing that the funds not be placed in the general fund or used for any other purpose. That's well understood. Do we plan on putting these funds in its own separate account, or are you putting it in the general fund and giving its own line?
No, the funds have already been deposited. It has its own bank account. It's in the capital reserve, but it has its own bank account, so it's separated out.
So it's in the,
Capital reserve.
so from what I understand, all the money that's in our general fund is also the capital fund, so it's in just one account.
No, we have a separate capital reserve.
So we have a whole
account.
separate
Yeah.
bank account just for the capital fund, and
It
that's
has
what
its
that
own.
is.
It has its own fund.
Because I
it's-
don't want this to, like,
That's why we put it in its own bank account, so it doesn't get lost in the. It doesn't get mixed with any other monies. Right now, it's not going to be mixed with any other monies.
it has its own bank account.
Has its own bank account.
Okay. All right, any other questions, comments? No? Okay, the motion is to adopt Resolution 2025-R13, accepting a donation for the purchase of land for a public works facility and establishing conditions for its use. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Supervisor Sachs makes the motion. I'll make the second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Stormwater O&M agreements for 106 Second Avenue and 204 Simmons Road.
Yeah, these are standard agreements prepared by Peter. These agreements are necessary for the applicant to cover the stormwater management facilities associated with the projects proposed on these properties. Both of these agreements have been signed by the applicants.
Okay, any questions, any comments? No? The motion is to approve the stormwater O&M agreements for 106 Second Avenue and 204 Simmons Road, and further authorize the chair to sign on behalf of the Board of Supervisors. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Supervisor Yizer. Is there a second? Supervisor Sachs makes the second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Next on our agenda is a resolution proclaiming 2025 as 811 Safe Digging Month.
So this is something they ask of us each year. We have done this in the previous years. So this is essentially a proclamation, just naming April 2025 as Pennsylvania 811 Safe Digging Month.
Excuse me. Are there any questions? Any comments? Okay, the motion is to adopt Resolution 2025-R14, proclaiming April 2025 as Pennsylvania 811 Safe Digging Month. Can I get a motion?
Also move.
Supervisor Hexter makes the motion, second. Supervisor Sachs makes the second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Last on our agenda this evening is cooperation agreement between Lower Frederick Township and Lower Frederick Fire Company for the LSA grant.
Okay, so this popped up on our radar when we submitted the payment request to receive the funds for the LSA grant that we submitted on behalf of the fire company. Peter confirmed with the state that since we acted as the applicant on behalf of the fire company, we needed an agreement with the fire company specifically for us to receive the funds and transfer to the fire company as a sub-grantee. The state will not release the funds without it. I had been in contact with Chief Angstat, and he has already responded, and he said he'd have it signed for tonight's meeting. And I made this a resolution for posterity's sake.
Why don't you read the resolution? Give Noel a break. No, just this part. The motion.
Okay, the motion.
Just the motion, I'm sorry.
I skipped the 811 digging, figuring we'd save us from
Let's
that.
name another road.
Okay. The recommended motion would be I move to adopt the resolution 2025 R-15, authorizing the approval of a cooperation agreement between the township and Lower Frederick Fire Company regarding the LSA grant submitted and awarded for the purchase of a 2027 Pierce Enforcer pumper, and further authorize the chair to sign the agreement on behalf of the Board of Supervisors.
I'll make that motion.
Anyone meant to make a second?
Chuck Yiser will second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I genuinely apologize. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. Is there any public comment this evening?
I just have one thing. Katie Lewis, 115 Little Road. I don't know if, well, obviously everybody knows about the condition of Little Road right now with the development. We've been communicating with PennDOT, and I don't know if that comes back to the township. So I did just want to let you know that some of the residents on Little Road have reached out to PennDOT due to the conditions, and it's mainly a safety issue. We've been having some people driving on the wrong side of the road to avoid the condition of the road. And also the flaggers haven't been doing a very good job. So I wasn't sure how much of this makes it back to the supervisors. And then one question for Carol. You had said that they finished the sewer work, then they're going to do the water. How long after that is completed that Little Road will be in a better condition?
Well, the water is actually, that project's run and inspected by the Water Authority, but it would be my anticipation that once the water line is done, it would be relatively soon that they'd want to get a fresh coat of paving on that road. So I don't have an exact timeline for you, but we will be very encouraging.
Okay, thank
To try
you.
and get that sped up as best we can.
Thank you.
Dan Orff, Kratz Road. Just real quickly, related to the $100,000 donation to the township, will there be, is this on? This is on. Is there like, I understand you put it in a separate bucket and everything, but is there going to be some kind of ongoing search done by somebody to find the property? I mean, I'm not sure how, now you got the money, but nobody's actively looking to do anything with it. I'm just curious how that mechanism would work. Is that something Jason's doing in his spare time? Just a question.
I wouldn't imagine that that's something that's going to happen right out of the gate. I mean, I don't know if there's any $100,000 parcels out there right now. We would have to
Yeah, that's.
figure out the cost.
Yeah, that's one of the other questions is if you find a
But
parcel.
this is a generous, generous
Yeah.
seed money for us
Yes.
to have something to start with.
Okay, cool. And then on a completely different subject, at the last supervisors meeting,
You guys talked about a newsletter going out. Jason brought it up. What might be advantageous for the township is to have a welcome letter that goes to everybody who shows up in the township. I know a couple of the other townships have this. It's just a one-page fold-out flyer that they send to everybody. Just welcome to the township. Here's all the people you can contact. Here's your emergency numbers, stuff like that. I think that would be far more useful than, probably far more useful. And they send it out on a yearly basis to all the residents, and they can keep it or throw it. But I mean, at least we get it up to date. But I think that would be a useful thing to think about. So maybe we could talk about that in one of the committees. So
Thank you, Dan.
you're welcome.
Is there anyone else? Any comments? Ernie?
Ernie Schmidt, Silverbrook Drive. Two things tonight. Again, I had contact again with Voter Services, and I'm glad to admit that they finally did come up with a firm date, and it looks like it will be November of 2025, which I'm in favor of, and I think you would be too, for the change in polling locations as discussed previously. They mentioned the fact that the school district had some plans for the closeout of this school year, and it would facilitate if they passed May, and I said I'm happy for that, and I think the Board of Supervisors would be happy for that also. The other thing is they do notification when these changes are made, and they expect that the township will also help in that notification. They'll work together with Voter Services and the township to facilitate that as we get closer to November 2025. The other comment I'd like to make is, am I the only guy that noticed what PennDOT did to our road edges and the mess they made in various locations? And if somebody could get to them and figure out a way of how they're going to clean this up. I've seen townships a lot worse than us where they have public highways, but we're in pretty bad shape for the little bit we had. And I think they should get somebody out there to clean that up. It looks like the devil. Thank you.
They did the same slash and burn and just
It's terrible.
like destruction for no reason down on North Limerick Road.
Right, it's terrible.
It's awful. And then
It-
just
it
left
is.
everything
And They
there.
ought to be told that it's just Lower Frederick, it's all over. We can only talk about Lower Frederick, I realize that.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ernie.
Ernie,
Yes.
are they going to move both polling places? Because I think that would be a lot simpler for everybody if,
Yes, they are.
so they'll both be at the, that'll
Yes.
be a lot
The
easier.
fire
much.
company, Area 1, will be moved to the Area 2, as we know, at the Township Building.
No, but what I'm saying is I thought you suggested if you move both polling places in middle school, that makes life easier because you have every
No,
single.
we are moving both.
Oh, both
That's
of them
still
would
the
move.
agenda, what I
Okay.
talked about.
Okay.
We're moving both.
Thank you.
Area 1, the firehouse will move to the Township Building. The Township Building is the area really that has a major volume concern right now. So it's important, while the fire company should move here because of ADA compliance with their issues, it's very important that Area 2 moves to a newer location that has bigger facilities and better parking.
Well, I think it would be simpler if everybody moved to the middle school because it's going to be chaos because every single person in this township will have a new voting location.
Well, in other
It's gonna be
areas,
very
there are
confusing.
splits between schools. I know, but that's not what we asked for. We asked, or I asked, based on conversations I had before, to move Area 1 to the Township Building, and the Township Building Area 2, which is the vast area of Lower Frederick, would go to the school district and up at Big Road.
Maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but I think it would be simpler for everybody in this township to be in one location that has good parking.
Well, we had that years ago when we all voted, before we had all the growth here. We all voted at the fire company. And it was a big change, and it was welcome back then when they made a new district here at Area 2. And I know it would look easier, but I think that would be a little too much for the school district right now, because the plans were originally made to move Area 1 to here, the Township Building for Area 2, and Area 2 move up to the middle school. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernie. If there's no other public comment, supervisor comment? Oh, I'm sorry, Warren.
Can I get a, is this on?
Yes.
Can I get a clarification of what the vote was?
Sorry, Warren
on the-
Jacobs for our note taker.
Your name and street. Sorry. Your name and the street.
Warren Jacobs, 252A Fulmer Road, Perkiomenville, PA 18074. The motion to ask our solicitor to go to the zoning hearing board, could you clarify what the vote was on that? Terry Sachs made a comment and I didn't understand whether it didn't sound like a yay and it didn't sound like a nay. Could you clarify, Terry, what your vote was on that?
My vote was, I had no comment on it, and I want to leave it like no comment.
So basically you did not vote? So it's 4 with an abstention? Okay, thank you.
Is there any other public comment? Okay, supervisor comment?
I'm sure some of you have noticed, finally getting around to cutting trees on Gerloff Road. That has been a long time coming. For those of you who live in that area know that every time we get a puff of wind, we lose electricity. Some of us, like myself, cost me $1,000 this last time because of Pico's auto reclosers, switching my electric on, off, very rapid fire, and it destroyed the circuit board for my furnace. So I'm very happy to see that happen. They're also doing a rewiring project. Pico is in dribs and drabs doing it on Yerger Road. They're not coordinating on traffic. So, you know, if you're driving that area of the township, be prepared to be sent out to Game Farm or wherever, but they're not talking to one another. And it's kind of hit or miss when Pico shows up and decides to work. Asplin seems like they're committed now to, you know, clearing out those trees, at least from my observations. And again, I'm happy to see that happening because it has been a big problem. Thank you.
Asplund has also been down Meng Road as well. Yeah, long overdue.
I'll do one more. So in this meeting, we talked about a donation for the Public Works Building, a donation for some tree work at Mang. Hopefully we have a good, successful campaign for the Parks Board. So I guess just thank you again to everyone that's helping fill some of the gaps that we have within our budget. Thank you.
Well said, Supervisor Byrd. Okay, if there are no more supervisor comments or public comments, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.